Net gain, networking, encouragement, training, helping snow landscape and all small businesses hire, train, retain, and engage the best teams to build those win-win workplaces. Are you looking to thrive at work? Here is your Net Gain. This episode of Net Gain is sponsored by Wolf America, wheel loaders engineered specifically for the snow contractor. Wolf America machines are developed with real-world input from snow professionals who depend on their equipment during long, demanding storms. If you're considering a new loader for your fleet, reach out to Aaron and Harry at Wolf America or visit wolfamerica.com. Wolf America Loaders, tried and true by snow pros who have been in the middle of the fight. Welcome to Net Gain. This is Networking Encouragement Training. I'm your host, Evan Tashwar from Jack of All People Trades. We exist to help snow, landscape, and all small businesses hire, train, retain, and engage the best people so you can build those win-win workplaces. I'm excited on this episode today. We're going to be talking about building interest in the trades as careers with Russ Marsan from Workforce in Motion. And before I have Russ introduce himself, I always like to start with an encouragement. And my encouragement is, be open-minded to multiple paths for your careers. And that includes whether you're getting into a career, know that there's multiple paths to go, which we're going to talk about today. Or even if you're in your career, don't always think that the next level up is just, the next people management or the next level of people management. It could be that, but it could be also expanding your skill set. It could be learning more about your company and the industry. It could be getting involved. So if you're in like snow and ice, it could be getting involved with SIMA or the SIMA Foundation, writing for a publication. There's a lot of ways to go, but I always say be open to different paths and be open to pivots too. So with that, I'm going to let Russ introduce himself. So Russ, go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of talk a little bit about your background and how you've built a passion for helping build careers in the trades and in, workforce development.
Sure. First, just thank you. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for giving me the ability to talk today a little bit about Workforce in Motion and myself. As you said, my name is Russ Marsan. I am a former landscape company owner, Carpenter Costin. I was associated with that brand for 42 years. My dad bought it from Doe Carpenter in the early 80s, and we over the years ended up starting a branch in Vermont that I ran successfully and just exited about 45 days ago. In that process, I started another business now that focuses on home building and renovations. Also have a HVAC and pest control businesses. So kind of keeping myself busy in all kinds of different customer service-based businesses, subscription-based businesses. So, my introduction to workforce development really kind of became front and center for me just shortly after COVID, when we were, as a landscape business, deemed as an essential service, and we needed to get to work. And we had a hard time filling the roster. And for quite a while, I spent time in coffee shops and the lunch tables and dinner tables with different contractors, whether it was in construction or, like I said, HVAC or home building. And for a while, it was a comfortable place to complain and commiserate and feel like, in terms of not being able to fill the roster, help, grow our organization to meet new demands. And, that went on for a couple of years. And, at some point in your life, sometimes you just get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I remember having conversations with a friend and mentor of mine and said, I'm going to figure this out. I don't really know what that looks like or how I'm going to figure it out, but I just can't do this anymore. I need to just kind of write the curtains and check through it and figure it out. So, the landscape industry is a unique industry, to say the least, and I have made many great lifelong friends in that industry, and that was really how I got a spark of an idea of what we could do in my community in Vermont. Well, I was invited to an event that Outdoor Parade, for those of you that know that organization, and now it's part of the Vistera Group. They invited me to a workforce networking event in Concord, New Hampshire. Mike Rowe happened to be there speaking. It was a very well-attended event. There's probably 5,000 people there. being of an entrepreneurial mindset, sometimes I have a tendency just to take an idea and run with it. And then I kind of turn around and go, where the hell did everybody go? They go, well, that's not a very good idea. You probably want to come back here. So as I matured a little bit in my gray hair years, now I don't do that as often. So this time I assembled a community team that I brought with me. And that was, like the ski resort, Killington Mountain, and some local bakes and our local chamber and economic development. And we all attended the event together. And when we came back and debriefed, they all said, yeah, you're onto something here. We need to do this. So I had partnered with that organization that put that on last year. A great event. Probably about 3,000 people attended this, which for us in rural Vermont is a pretty big deal. So we got lots of press, lots of PR, lots of excitement. And I'm kind of a one-up guy. I like to one-up myself. So as I left that event, I made it about 2 minutes down the street. It said to myself, what's next? What am I going to do? How am I going to top this? And it took about 30 more seconds for me to realize you have no plan. That was the plan. You just did it. What's the sustainability of that? As a business owner, I'm able to bring a unique perspective to that value proposition, where if I'm going to keep signing up for an advocacy or a trade show or career fair, there needs to be some value there for me beyond just showing up for 5 hours for a day and getting to meet, a few thousand people. That's great, but it's not that great. So I started to really try to think in terms of creating a system of what we could do beyond advocacy. And that led me to a whole system that we put together. So when we went back to the organization to plan for this year's event, I was really trying to create more of an equitable split in the financial piece of the event, so that we could really start to make some impact in our community. And kind of the way it works is you get like a percentage of the net, but it really didn't even cover staff cost, to put the event on. And it was, quite honestly, probably 95% of all of my personal relationships and trade relationships that brought everybody to this event. So I was a little taken aback when I couldn't get more of a 50-50 share. So I tried to negotiate for several months to get that to happen. And basically the follow message back to me was, hey, why don't we just take a year off and see if you want to have us back the following year? Well, to me, that was like the virtual middle finger. And I just said, you know what? Game on. I'll start my own nonprofit. I'll figure it out. I'll make it work. Typically that's my mentality. When I'm up against a challenge or a problem, I'll take a head on. So I did. And here we are. Workforce and Neutral was born. We got our 501c3. Probably in March or April, but it kind of gets retroactive back to the day that you apply. So it really was in like January. So we're a young organization, six months old, but was able to leverage all of the relationships that I brought to the table over 25 years of being an independent business owner, and then from successfully running the event in 2025. So we put together a great event in May this year, again in Rutland County, and again had thousands of people show up, and about 80 businesses and nonprofits and community supporters to reach out to all of the young school age. So it goes from middle school to high school, and then we also connect with postgraduate students that don't have a plan, a secondary school plan, 2-year, 4-year path. And then those that are maybe graduated previous, that maybe the best they could do is get a job at McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts, and they're not really wanting to be there anymore, but they're not sure what to do. So just helping them see what those career opportunities are. So it's really getting all of the best businesses, the best brands in our community, and showcasing, giving them the opportunity to showcase what they offer and what they do on a day-to-day basis. Part of the event is an equipment rodeo, so everybody brings their latest and greatest cool equipment for kids to do hands-on demonstrations. So that could be anything from threading pipe to flaring copper tubing to welding to running an excavator to doing some coding and robotics. So it's or CPR. I mean, it's incredibly diverse and wide range. So it's continued to evolve. We have another event coming up the end of September, which is going to be in Chittenden County, which maybe some folks are familiar with Burlington, Vermont. Ben and Jerry's, most people know with that. Can't even know that's a little bit to the east. But so we were encouraged by the Lieutenant Governor of Vermont to start to move it around the state. So we did. So we're actively getting exhibitors, for that space. Some of you guys might know Zach Strauser from Hercher. No, he'll be there, and a few other guys in the landscape industry. That's been a great little a little bump for me just in terms of pulling all those relationships in. So we'll be doing that in September, and next spring we'll be in Southern Vermont, and then we'll be in the Northeast Kingdom, and started to have some conversations with organizations in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Maine. So I don't think it will be long before we're kind of making our way around New England and helping communities and states, I guess, really bring all the silos together. So I've been involved in community development for at least 15 years. And in that time, it was easy for me to see all of the good and hard work that people were doing, but it was incredibly siloed and independent. And they weren't really sitting down and talking and collaborating on how could they bring all of their silos together to really harness the collective power of a more collaborative effort. We were able to do that through a nonprofit that I brought to Vermont. I didn't found it. It was founded by Jim Paluch, which any of you guys know in the landscape industry. Jim was a great mentor to a lot of people. And he founded that nonprofit, Come Alive Outside, which again, I brought to Vermont. And that was a really great opportunity for me to learn how to create collaborative community systems and put those things together. And now in my next venture of workforce development, I'm able to, again, bring that unique perspective on how do we bring all the silos together and all the good and hard work that people are doing to really create a more efficient and collaborative way to showcase all of the opportunities. Because again, when people, I think they think trades, they think a hammer, they think a wrench, they think a screw gun. They don't necessarily think healthcare. They don't necessarily think law. They don't necessarily, think cosmetology or, any one of those other career opportunities that are there. So, it's brought me to a lot of different industries, from the landscape industry and now to any and every industry in between that is really facing a workforce challenge, which we all are. And this isn't a me problem, it's a we problem, right? Which it's for in every state across the country and quite honestly, across the world.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you for a great overview, really seeing kind of your career and passion and entrepreneurship, how this led to, I think it was really cool to see that, you said it started from COVID with seeing the frustration firsthand of trying to fill roles and you realizing, oh, we don't have that labor pool or it's hard to find. So, a couple of takeaways. So how it, part of net gain, the T in net gain is for training. So I always try to drop takeaways that, we can drop on shorter clips or, really help people. What can you apply at work today? So I think you dropped a lot of good takeaways along the way there. Is number one is when you see that frustration, flip to I'm going to figure this out, and that could be no matter where you are in an organization, whether you're, in an entry level, even if the figure it out is you don't have the authority to make the change, but you can bring it up to your supervisor and say, hey, question, would it be better to do this way? This is what I'm noticing. Or whether you're in a decision-making role that you consult with others and maybe make the change when you see the frustration or when the frustration is brought to you, that you even coach people on, hey, how do you, okay, you see this frustration, what would you do different? Or can you bring me some ideas back? And one thing I say too is even if you're stuck, worst case scenario on a problem is always come at least say like, hey, look, I'm really stuck, but I'm willing to be part of the solution. So I think that's the first thing I would say there is like,
For sure. Yeah.
you know,
Frustration, when managed the right way, leads to opportunity to innovate
mm,
and really, yeah. So you can vent and you can spout, but again, you can only do that for so long before you're just you're a bit of a broken record, right? And get to a certain level in an organization, it's more about leadership, right? And helping people see the opportunity, with the obstacles that we're facing, and how do we collectively bring that together to innovate and solve the problem. And I think it's important, and something that I share with folks as I'm connecting with them is, by no means do I have this figured out. I do not have all the answers. So I think leading with humility is an important part, and giving people the space to really truly provide critical feedback and being open to that, right? And I think even just in the event that we just had in May, we sent out a post-event survey to the students and to the professional entities that participated, and we got some incredible feedback. And now on this second event that we'll be doing this year, we're applying that feedback. And some of the businesses that chose not to be part of our event in May, because of the changes that we've made, are now waving their hand saying, "Hey, you know what? We want it. You're making these adjustments. You're doing this. We want to be part of it now. This is going to be more fit for what it is that we're looking to do." So, yeah, I think it's important to, again, lead with the humility, ask for the feedback.
yeah.
Take that feedback to your team, massage that the best way that you can, and then let people know that, hey, we're going to take these things under advisement. Here's what we're going to do moving forward, and we'll continue to monitor it. And we're doing this based on making this a better end result for you all. So it's with everybody's best interest in mind, which, quite honestly, for me now, I really love being in this space. Not that I don't love to compete, because I think you have to. If you're a Disney song rooming entrepreneur, you gotta love the grind. You gotta love to compete. But the thing I love the most about this, other than seeing people succeed and find out career opportunities, is to be able to take my passion, non love for competition, and apply it to everybody else's business. So now I'm not competing against them. Now I'm competing for them, which to me is incredibly empowering, right? I mean, it's the greatest compliment I could ever get when someone signs up to be part of one of our events or sponsor what it is, something that we're doing. It's an incredible amount of trust that they place in myself and the organization to support them in their journey. So, yeah, just all about the people and networking and finding those opportunities to get better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the feedback piece is really key. I always say feedback's like playing the game with a cheat code. So when you could take that feedback, apply it. And one thing too with feedback, I always suggest is, even if you can't apply it for whatever, one thing that Gallup's research shows is, at work, my opinion seem to count, leads to further engagement. And I've had the pushback or question of like, well, does that mean we do everything people suggest or say? And I said, no, but what it means is it's accounted for, it's heard. So even if you can't apply it or you're not going to go a direction, at least you say, hey, I appreciate this feedback. We're not going to go this direction. Here's why. But, thank you for bringing it up. Continue to bring it up. Because here's the thing. You also might be, like you said, with the humility, you might be wrong. And it might be like, oh, you know what? Now that I've went down the road a little bit, I do see the wisdom in that. But it's also, I've been in situations where I've brought up feedback that I thought I was kind of standing my ground on at the time, saying I'm right. But down the road, I was like, you know what? That wasn't the right way to go. And, when you're in that boat too, have that humility to say to the other person, this was a good way to go. But yeah, I think, like you said too, doing it with others is really big. Asking questions, continually iterating and improving, iterating and pivoting, is really big, to no matter what you're doing, whether it's your own business, whether it's your own career, your professional development. Because here's the thing, you're going to have to pivot, because the world around you is obviously, COVID was a great example. The world changed drastically quickly, and we had to either change with it or, be out of business and be gone. So we didn't have a choice but to, evolve or die, as they say. So I think that's really good that you brought those points up. One thing to kind of ask about is like, how can people get involved with, workforce in motion? So if people are saying, hey, Russ, I like what you're doing, whether it's your events, I want to help people, spread the message about developing a workforce, developing both the trades and beyond, whether it's cosmetology, coding, of course, landscape, snow, skilled trades. How can people get involved with what you're doing?
Yeah, so workforceemotion.org. You can go right on our website. You can learn all about who we are, what we're doing. You can donate to the cause of what we're doing. If you're interested in bringing one of our events to your community, it all starts with a phone call. So I would just encourage people, if this is something that you're looking to do in your community or in your county or in your state, and you don't have anyone to help support you in that endeavor, that's basically what we're here to do. So it's open to everybody. It's to every business. It's to every trade. It's to every profession. Again, it's not a me problem. It's a we problem. It's something that we all need to work together on. So I think that's probably the easiest way and the most simplest of way. And then, feel free to like and share all of the things that we're doing on social media, to kind of spread that message. The more people we have following and sharing and clicking on our stuff, then the more the algorithms seem to like those things and get us higher on those rankings. So those are probably the simplest ways to get involved and to support. And you could just email me direct to if you want, Russ@workforceemotion.org. So either go to the website or give me an email. Let's get the conversation started. All starts with that, right? I'll start with the first call or the first email.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love what you're saying about starts with the first conversation. So I encourage people, if you're seeing this, and I always will, have both social media posts. I'll do some clips off this of, key moments of our conversation, but also just other posts about workforce development, how to start something that we talked about. So definitely you'll see that, be able to share out and tag, because I want to, help you get that word out, because I think it is great. And obviously it's needed. Another kind of pivot on the conversation about, kind of workforce development in the trades. So, obviously I serve a snow and landscape audience primarily with other small businesses. But, as somebody who came, just a little bit of my background for you and for others listening who haven't heard it before, I came up, I went to college. I was kind of always pushed in that route as, when I was younger, which I'm thankful for. I mean, it, did give me a future. I do have the mind for it with, my skills with like HR and people. I've worked in HR, mostly on the people side. And, up till I got involved in snow removal, I was in higher ed for about a decade, higher ed HR, had a little career sabbatical, dealt with some burnout, was in banking for a little bit with, a little bit on the HR people side, but then settled for a full-time payroll job, which wasn't really me. And I realized I needed to get back into the trade, into the people side of HR, which is why I accepted a position in snow, because snow company had a recruiter. I wanted to get back in recruiting or talent. And, that's kind of where this whole thing took off from. But, my point is, I feel like there's more me's out there. Like, I feel like there's more people that have the mind, whether it's finance, HR, office admin, sales, project management. How can really, snow landscape and companies build bridges with, those type of people and connect with more? Obviously, we're going to connect with the tradespeople doing the frontline work, but how can we connect with those, kind of back office people that could really be allies for us?
Yeah, that's a great question. And during my time at Carpenter Croston, one of the things I think I did really well was to help build our brand through community involvement. And, it started predominantly through Come Alive Outside, right? Come Alive Outside was created for landscape companies to partner with community members beyond the services that we provide. So it's not about who cuts the grass the best or the straightest lines or who gives the best price on snow or the best service. It's about the bigger picture of the community as a whole. So when we would show up at 4 o'clock in the morning and get a tractor trailer load of sod and roll out 8,000 square feet in the middle of a street and have a big block party, and we would partner with the hospital and a bunch of local businesses, and there would be 40, 50 businesses that would participate in some of the events that we would co-host. So I became very, very ingrained in community development, initiatives, business to business relationships. And it really elevated our brand beyond being a landscape company. So, and I think it put us in a position where people from much higher level backgrounds wanting to start to partner with our organization. So I think sometimes leading with who we are and what we know in terms of just the people side of it, like you're talking about, is what's the best way to connect with our communities beyond the services that we provide. For me, that's what Come Alive Outside meant to me, and that's what it did for me and for the organization that I was, that I co-led for 20 plus years here in Vermont. So I think my message to the landscape companies that are, probably, under that 5 million mark, or 2 million mark, and trying to figure out how that's going to differentiate their brand. And maybe they think they're going to do it with a catchy logo, or they're going to do it with the best pricing, or they're going to do it with just get involved beyond your world within the four walls of your business. Go outside of that. And that's easier said than done, having been the guy that's up at 4 a.m, being at the office first thing in the morning, seeing the crews getting out. Right? And so I think when you're in that space and you're a little bit of like the jack of all trades and trying to make it all happen, you begin to realize pretty quickly that you can't. And how do you start to trust and empower some of your people to do those things? And I think that's where you start to build, some of that team spirit, some of that team culture, start to grow people in your organization and give them the opportunity to, to flex some of their skills and lead people. So I think that's, for me anyway, that's been my perspective. I'm not saying it's right for everybody, and more that's going to work maybe in metropolitan Chicago. That I don't know. I mean, I'm in a state of 650,000 people, in a community of 16,000. But I mean, we grew a 60, 70 person, $6 million landscape company in the middle of nowhere. So I think if we can do it here, probably do it anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the common thread I keep hearing, which big takeaway for anybody listening, is relationships and really getting involved in the community. So, relationships anywhere is even just starting, if you're not sure where to start something, whether it's, like you said, growing your business. Hey, I need these different kind of roles. Like start with your community. If you're in snow, start with Simon, start with your connections you met at Storks and other events you go to. Start with people in NALP, different events you attend Weenscaper stuff, talk to them. And then also community, talk to get involved with your chamber of commerce, get involved with the community around you, get involved with, the BOMA and IFMA and other property management organizations, because here's the thing, they also have a vested interest in you doing a good job, because, they don't want their properties to look like garbage. They don't want their risk to go up. So if it's like, hey, here's the challenges we're having, they might be able to point you in a different direction too. So, and
they want their brand to be recognized and strengthened as well. I can give you a couple of specific examples. We have a 55 plus that's connected with a memory care and in-home care business here in our community. And we've started to get a lot of pressure from other businesses, trying to get in there, trying to undercut pricing. I have a great relationship with both of the owners, and they were giving me some latitude, and then the latitude started to wane a little bit. So what we ended up doing was we did an event at their facility, and we invited the community, and we just had people building snowmen outside the windows of all of the people, all of the residents. And I think Delgard might have come when they had their brick oven, their wood fetid pizza oven, and Mike, I think it was Mike Day actually. And he was running around like crazy, man. He must have made 300 pizzas that day. And it was ridiculously simple and it was incredibly successful to the point where we got called into the office the following week saying that was amazing. We're getting letters from the residents. We're getting letters from their families. Our heating bill was double because everyone had their windows open, talking with everybody outside that was doing the work. It was great. So there was a period of time where we did that every year. That was a big deal for them for us to do that. And another piece to that was our local or our regional hospital. We did a lot of services for them, but we could never get past the facilities manager. I could never get to the CEO. I could never get to the VP. So I led with Come Alive Outside and said, hey, we would love to partner with you guys and do some sort of a community event here with you at the hospital. And they blew my hair back. Yep. We want a 5-year plan on events that we can do throughout the year. We want you guys to help us lead them. And I was like, holy smokes, I don't even know what to say or what to do. So sure, we'll do it. And then, well, holy crap. And I said, so how are we going to get this down? So we ended up doing a spring planting and a fall harvest. So we go out in the spring, which is probably the hardest time of year, right, to break off as a landscape company and go till up a field and make mounds, plant pumpkins and plant sunflowers. But we would go out and we would till they had a big meadow out back. And we tilled the field up, and then we had a huge community event. We invited, there's probably 12 schools that came, 1,000 kids. And, all the hospital staff would come out in a rotation, and we would plant pumpkins, and we did a big sunflower field, and then they came back in the fall, and we harvested the pumpkins, and the kids did pumpkin painting, and we, probably about a month or 2 months or so after the sunflower started to grow, we just went through with a soil conditioner and made a maze. So that kids could come back and they could go do a maze. We hid stuff in the maze and made a little bit of a scavenger hunt. But those were the things that we did to engage memorably with our customers, to go beyond landscape, to go beyond price. I mean, they wanted to change the narrative in our community of this is where you go when you're sick, or this is where you go when you die. This is a place to go that's fun and be healthy and learn and grow. Right. So we help them change the narrative of how people view the hospital in the Hill, which was incredibly successful. And I think still to this day, we do the vast majority of all of their lawn and snow work. So again, how do you connect with people to help them achieve what their goals are? I guarantee you it will come back to you tenfold. When you give from the place of giving and not from of wanting or taking, it comes back to you. And I will say people read through the shallowness. So if you're doing it to get something, they know. But if you're doing it genuinely to give and be a good team player, it will come back to you in ways that you can't even imagine.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion in finding those, ways to build and genuine ways to build. And part of that too is being patient too. If you're, like you said, kind of out of that shallowness, like if you're like, okay, I'm going to show up at your, BOMA meeting. I expect you to, meet with me and sign a contract. I know it's a kind of very short example, but if that's kind of your mindset, oh, we'll do this community event, but we expect that it gets this, people are going to see through that. So kind of commit to the things that you can serve and help and, be part of regardless. And then obviously, when it opens the right doors, but a lot of times those creative things really do open the right doors. So I think that's great advice. So kind of as we, wind down here, Russ, any kind of, last words or any encouragement that you maybe put out for, people helping people get others more involved in the trades and, really making their business a prime place to work.
Yeah, I think as a society, we've done a great job of defining success for people and what success looks like. And I'm in the same boat as you, Evan. I was At a young age, yeah, you're going to college or a choice which you not everybody has that level of support or mentorship. Um, and I think for some people it works okay, but I think for others it doesn't. And I think probably one of the most important things that we can do is provide opportunity for people to see what the options are and let them define success for themselves. That will help them build that passion for the direction that they want to go in. And then how do we help them follow that passion? So, I see it when I'm getting schools to sign up, for these events. And I talk to the superintendent and they go, "Oh yeah, we're going to connect you with all the trade schools, all the CTE centers here in our county." And they say, "Well, that's great, but I want everybody to be there." Well, yeah, but these kids they're going to go to college. They don't need to be involved in their trade. And it's like, great, says you. Do you know that's the case? What happens? What happens when the 40%, which is I believe is the statistic, of students that enroll in college don't graduate? What are they going to do? So if they don't have the opportunity to see what's available to them outside of that 4-year degree path, who are you to decide what they should and shouldn't be doing or can and can't see? This is for everybody. Let everybody come. When I was in school, there was a program, it was industrial arts. So you got to do wood shop, you got to do mechanical drawing, you had to go to Spanish, U.S. history, you did it all. And you never had to be different, right? I think when you're a teenager, all you want to do is fit in. You don't want to be different. You don't want to be the one that gets picked on, or you just want to go with the masses, right? So when that's part of the curriculum, everybody gets to see and do what that is. You never know who you're going to inspire when you let someone see that. And for a country that's so concerned about inclusivity and giving everybody an equal shot, but yet we tell everybody, "Oh yeah, your academics, your trades, we don't know what you're going to do. We just got to get you through the system and get you out of here," right? But I think we've done a great job of defining success for people as opposed to giving people the opportunity to see what speaks to them and then let them develop their passion and then support them moving forward to be successful. So to me, I would say do your best to probably drop the preconceived notions of who should be doing what and allowing people's inner person to shine through and then support that person moving forward. My guess is you'll probably find a lot more success with that path as opposed to preconceived notions about who people are and what they should be doing.
Yeah, I love that advice. I love that. I'm a big strength-based practitioner myself, so I'm big on like, what are you good at, helping people find that and thrive. And I think just the exposure to what's out there, even if they are the college educated route, even if they're going to be, the quote unquote finance bro or whatever, it's still good to have that exposure because I think it just makes us more appreciative as a society. You know what I mean? When we see on like, I know today when we're recording this, I don't know how it is in Vermont, but it's like, heat advisory here in Pittsburgh. And, there's people who are out working and are out, doing road work, doing, landscape, hardscape work out today, who, this is, could affect their health. Same thing with snow. There's people that are out all nights, multiple hours. You guys had some killer storms this week.
Multiple days. Yeah.
Yeah, multiple days. So, just having that appreciation and vice versa. Cause I think sometimes when you get so siloed, it's almost like the whole you can't see the forest from the trees thing. You get so up against your tree, whether that's, your finance, HR, business executive, that you don't see that whole forest. And you know what? Everybody up against their tree has issues. Every job has goods and bads. But I think as a society, if we can appreciate each other more, and have that perspective, it's really good. And then, like you said, for, to define things for people before we find their strengths is, can be harmful. Whereas if you help them find their strengths, and one exercise I'll leave with this one, because I've done this in different trainings with leaders, is I say for like a career interest interview, start with, Russ, tell me something that you like. It could be anything. And, it can be, I like poker, I like books, I like hiking. And you just ask people, why do you like that? What do you like about that? And the purpose of the interview isn't to say like, oh, if you tell me you like poker, well, Russ, you should go be a professional poker player. But it's more meant to dive into the poker example is a good one that was used with somebody who was doing it with someone, and they were asking, what do you like about it? He's like, well, I like, kind of the statistics, kind of seeing based on what I have, based on what's on the board, what are the probabilities. And the guy was an actuary by trade, which was, a great place to be because a lot of that is number based. A lot of that is risk based, figuring out, okay, if you have so much money here, here's your risk percentage, but it's the same kind of thing. And I think just having those starter conversations, and that can be with school, that can be with you as leaders at work. And, it doesn't always mean you're going to find the exact perfect place tomorrow. But if you can from that, maybe find 1% of something that you can do. I know for me, like when I was in snow, I really like teaching and training and creating things and presenting them to people. So I was able to get more opportunities to be like, all right, we're doing more self-perform. Like, hey, instead of me as the owner doing this training, do you want to do this classroom training? Heck yeah. So I think those little things can really help. But I'm just going to close out here. Number one, thank you, Russ, for being on. Definitely make sure you check out, Workforce in Motion. If you want to get involved, check out their events. And, otherwise, again, continue to just do what you can to get 1% better every day. This has been Net Gain, Networking, Encouragement Training. We exist to help snow, landscape, and all small businesses find, train, retain, and engage the best teams. So if you're interested in that for yourself in any way, we're also going to be starting up a peer group. So definitely talk to me, Evan at Jack of All People Trades. Thank you.
Today's episode of Net Gain is sponsored by Wolf America, wheel loaders engineered specifically for the snow contractor. The team at Wolf America does more than just sell loaders. They operate them in their commercial snow removal fleet, so they understand what contractors need when the snow is falling. The hours are long and downtime is not an option. Wolf America loaders offer fast travel speeds, excellent visibility, comfortable cabs, and universal skid steer attachments, compatibility for the pushers, plows, buckets, and other attachments your crews already use. They're built to be productive throughout the winter and versatile enough to keep earning their place in your fleet during the off season. Whether you're planning to add one wheel loader or a dozen loaders before the next winter, now is the time to start the conversation. Reach out directly to Aaron and Harry at Wolf America to discuss your operation, fleet pricing, delivery timing, or visit wolfamerica.com.
With no weather, but you ain't gon' slip and fall with that. Why? Cause we snow fighters, we assaulting that. Get it, salting that. King need the salting rap. Clown brokers, end of the road. This a cul-de-sac. Blackout with white glove service. That's the coldest facts. Sparks flying from the start. It's a Goldberg match. Wild with the snow plows running. We be on a mission. How we put the blade down, but cutting through the competition. Women in snow bloom. Give them they flowers. Greatness coming